Okay, Nicolas, you're back in Ireland to promote the new book. Can you tell us about what the reception's been like to that?
It's been great. You know, when it's new, it's such an exciting experience, because it was like, oh, what should I expect and not expect? And at the end of the day, you don't know what to expect at all. So any small thing is good, you know. And the other day, to go and do the signing in Easton's, I was feeling more nervous than when I'm doing all the signings on the Tour de France, which there's, you know, so much more crowds there. It's pretty. It was strange because I didn't know what to expect. We were here and said, oh, I expect 20-30 people, and there's about 100 there. So it was a great experience. I really enjoyed it.
You've been on a few TV and radio stations as well?
Yes, I was on Ireland AM in the morning, which was good. I hadn't been there since, I think, the junior tour, so it was a couple of years of that. And I did a few interviews on a few radios, so I covered a lot of ground, and I was happy to be able to do that and to create a bit of interest around it.
So can you talk to us about the process of, you know, how it came together?
It came together, the project started about a year ago. Probably after the tour, before the Vuelta, I was talking with Gerard Cromwell, and we said, oh, maybe we should try and get the diaries up a level again, and we weren't at the project of a book yet, but trying to get a bigger size diary, and we were kind of thinking, and about a month after that, after the Vuelta, we said, maybe let's talk around and see if a book could be interesting. So we had a chat with the Irish Independent, and then finally with Transworld, and we decided to go ahead with the project, and we started writing it about a year ago in October last year, and it was very demanding. It was a great challenge, as Gerard Cromwell was coming over to training camps. So after my training, I'd go in the bedroom and lie down in bed, and we'd be working on the chapters and how to organise things around. So it was a lot of work around the telephone as well, on emails, rewriting, and making sure we collected the right information. It was really interesting for me as well, because there's a lot of little details of my younger age that I had completely forgotten, and, you know, chasing up mum and granny and the sister and everybody. I was trying to get all the different sides of the story, and to create the first introduction. So it was nice. It was fun.
You talk about, you know, doing the research of your childhood years. Is there anything that stands out? You know, anything that you found unusual that you'd maybe forgotten about or never knew about in the first place?
Yeah, the cesarean. I never knew about the cesarean. Well, I knew I was born by cesarean, but I didn't think it was planned, and it was something almost hidden, wasn't it? It was prohibited. Just Stephen did not have to know I was on my way, so as I wasn't in the way of the bike race. And
can you explain the context of that? I mean, when was it, and why did it take place the particular day it did?
Well, it took place, I think, because the tour was going by really close to the house as well, and so everything was planned that day so that my dad could come and visit me in the hospital. So there was a lot of coincidence in that as well. A fair bit of it seemed to be planned, and then the other fair bit was just destiny and luck, that day the tour was down the road from where my mother was giving birth, and Dad could be there that night to see me.
So it seems your whole life has been, you know, linked to cycling in some ways. Even the date of birth has kind of synced with that.
It is, yeah. Like I said, as long as I'm riding the tour, the team guarantees a drink of champagne, and I don't need to win for that. So no, I say that laughing. Obviously, I would definitely prefer opening a bottle of champagne for a victory. But yeah, it's good to be born in July, and I like being part of all the summer.
There's actually been scientific studies that have shown kind of a correlation between a rider's around the time of his birth and actually when he's most successful. So it tends to, for whatever reason, coincide with the peak in form. So I think that's also good timing. I mean, Indurain and Eric Zabel were born during, you know, the time of the tour. So hopefully that'll bode well for the years ahead. You mentioned the diary. So where the book comes about is originally, I think a few years ago, you started doing newspaper diaries, and you've done them since. They've been very well received. So can you talk about that and how you yourself have changed over the years since you started writing those diaries?
Well, it was funny enough. Going through the book, I had to look back again and reread some of the diaries in 2007, and then after that, I was reading the ones in the Olympics, and it's funny to see how my point of view kind of changes and evolve, and how what I thought was really hard at one stage becomes easy, and what I thought was unacceptable becomes doable. You know, it was like, oh yeah, how can I go up San Pellegrino and then go and do Tre Valais, de Lavaredo and whatever, or the crazy climb there was in the Giro that year. And now I'm saying, oh, how am I going to do to try and get a top result in those climbs, you know? So it's great when you go through the book, as it's the diaries give that like live moment, you know, it's like direct, you're watching TV again, and I'm back racing the Giro, and then a few chapters later you're back again riding my first Tour de France and getting second in that stage, and all the passion and emotion I had been going through that day, but also the anger with the Benatti story, and then going through the Tour this year, which was up and down, and I was always kind of hoping it was going to come, hoping, and I, even at the Tour presentation, I was there, right, no, I think I'm good, I'm going to be top 10, and I was trying to keep my head focused in the right direction, and then eventually on the Plateau Bay stage, just everything just collapsed down. I was like, oh, it's not going to happen, and going through the disappointment, and then going through back to last week, I was like, alright, GC's out of my hand now, let's just try and go for a stage, and getting that pleasure again into cycling with attacking.
Looking back at the season, it never really got, you know, going 10 out of 10. There was always something cropping up. So is there any one thing that you think, you know, caused you not to be at 100% of form, or do you think it was an accumulation of problems over the year?
Well, I think I've been one day 100% in form. The day I was 6th in the Dauphiné, or 5th, sorry, in the Dauphiné in the mountain top stage. I definitely think that day was at the Tour I would not have been able to go as good as that day anyway. I was convinced that was my peak, and I had to keep it. Unfortunately, 2 days later I was against a brick wall and cuts all over me, so I never got to see how long it was going to last. But I do think that when I arrived at the Dauphiné, I was ready and at 100% and top really focused into the race and prepared for the Tour. I think that was my main issue this year, was crashing in the key moments, and not just crashing when things were going bad, you know. It started off back in November last year, when after the Vuelta I was completely cocked. There's no other words. I didn't want to touch the bike, I didn't want to see the bike. That was it was KO. And so after 4 weeks I said, alright, now I should start training, and so I start bike training, and I usually only take 3 weeks, so that was a week extra. And I didn't want to go too much on the bike. I said, alright, let's keep the bike on the low and just do 2 or 3 hours, and then go out running in the afternoon. And unfortunately, after a couple of days, I had a massive tendonitis on the knee, as I got carried away and was just, alright, I like running, and running, and there we go, sore knee, and that was over. So I had to do 3 weeks stop again, which was difficult. And so I eventually started back training early December, and that was great. I had a great one of December. We were in Spain with the team, and good weather, everything. Arrived January, another training camp, and the team asked me to go and do a few sprint sessions, and I said, no, I don't want to do sprint sessions. But they said, oh yeah, you're a team leader, you have to show the example, and you got to do the sprint sessions. So did the sprint sessions and tore my quads, and that was another 3 weeks off. And then just started off in Algarve, but I was just so anxious to go out racing that I went out racing without really thinking, without plans. I just went in there, and you know, I was in racing in Algarve with 5 days training, and I think that was one of the mistakes, because then I went into Paris-Nice and I was already tired in Paris-Nice, and then into Catalonia. I never really went well in Catalonia. Okay, I was, I think, 6th or 7th on the stage, but that wasn't what I was looking for. And after that I said, alright, now I go to Mallorca, go secure myself 10 days in the sun training, get back, I'll do it for the classics. And classics, crashed in Amstel, destroyed myself in Flèche Wallonne, and that was it, that was over for that part. After Romandy I said, alright, now clear memory, let's start over again. So I went for my altitude training camp, and really focused, and everything was going well. I arrived at the Dauphiné, I get the confirmation that I was feeling great. Only lasted 3 days, and here I am again back in hospital. I was saying, oh, this is never gonna end. So I tried to keep focused for the Tour, and convincing myself that all the work I had done before was gonna come out at some stage. Unfortunately, it never did. And I was really hoping it was gonna come out at the Vuelta, and it didn't really come out. I wasn't bad at the Vuelta, but it just wasn't as good as what I wanted to be, because I had a decent Vuelta. I had a couple, I think 4 or 5 top 10s, so it was okay Vuelta, but it was just I was missing that little thing when the riders, when the big war was happening. I was like, oh no, I can't participate, and I was dropping back and arriving after the top riders, which I was hoping to be able to participate at least a bit in that. But there was some good things. I pulled out a good time trial, and I had won a mass bunch sprint, which I hadn't done in a few years now. So there was a couple of good things that I was happy, and on those really steep climbs I was up there as well. And then eventually came Prato the week after, where I was going good as well. And then Worlds, where I didn't know how good or how bad I was going. I was just in the wheels and waiting for it to happen. And then China, where I was super motivated, and things happened to work out great for me, and that was kind of a big relief and saving my year.
You were actually not originally intended to go to China. You were going to come back to Ireland and promote the book. Is that the case?
Yes, it's definitely the case. The plan was to have a very similar year to last year in terms of results and programme. So I was literally, apart from Tour Suisse and Dauphiné, I was just taking last year's and sticking it this year. Things happened that I didn't get the points, I didn't get the races and get the results, and during the Vuelta, the team asked me, Nicolas, we need you to go to China because there's this medium mountain stage which we think can suit you, and it would be good if you can try and concentrate yourself and go and win that. It sounds easy now looking at it today, saying, oh yeah, I went there and I won that one, when 2 months before that we were talking about it. But for once it actually happened, because I do plan a lot of tactics for different races, and it doesn't happen the way I want it, but I'm always trying, so eventually it was bound to happen, so it worked out well.
This is the first World Tour win. You've had other wins earlier in your career, and then there's been a time where you've been really consistent and really close to victories, but this is the first really big one. Can you talk about how important that was for your mentality?
It was very first Pro Tour win or World Tour win, and it was such a relief, because I've had seconds in the Tour, seconds in the Vuelta, second in Paris-Nice, and I was just accumulating those second places and third places or fifth places, and I don't know how many 7th and 8th I have, and I was just like, something wrong. Why? What is going wrong? When I get to the finishing straight, I feel the stronger before the last straight, and after the last straight I'm here 5th, 7th, 8th, and you know, there was just this frustration in me saying, I can't do that anymore, I have to try again. And then eventually I think it came as well from all the attacking I've been doing in the last couple of months again, to kind of compensate my lack of GC performance, and getting those little habits of timing and everything back, and eventually everything put together came up, and like I said, it was a great relief. It was like, okay, with a bit of a, now let's try again next year, and maybe take the lesson out of it and try and ride aggressively like I used to, which I think that was my strong points. Riding GC is my weaker point, but is the one I prefer. But like I said, riding GC, I'm losing on those little opportunities to go and win stages, and China was great to kind of put me back in the scene.
Can you talk how that third stage played out? I mean, this was the one that the team had targeted and you had targeted, so can you talk about how the tactics worked out that day?
Well, the tactic worked out pretty good, and that morning we said, alright, we've Christophe Perrault, who's 8, and he was in great form, so there was nothing really to lose for me, because I was 13th, so I wasn't in the points anyway, or 12th, so I didn't get any points. So I had everything to win by attacking, and I was feeling good, and so I told the team, right, today can we try something, and said everybody was extra motivated, and so I got the team to go and harden the race at the bottom of the second last climb, because on the profile it looked much harder than the last one. So the team did, and they tried, and okay, we didn't blow the bunch to pieces like Sky did just afterwards, but when I got the guys to go up there, I was hoping some bigger team would come and give us a hand, which they did, and Sky came up, and they blew the bunch to pieces. And I had attacked already at that stage on the top of this one, and then I realised there was still too many riders in the bunch, and it was going to come back. So funny enough, a wrong information made me kind of slow down and drop back and wait for the bunch, because we got an information on the radio that there was a 15% or 14% ramp on the last climb. So I said, oh, that could be the right place to attack. So instead of riding full gas with 5 seconds on the bunch, I said, alright, it's better to wait for the bunch. So I dropped back with Antoon and some other riders as the rest of the break went. And once we got to the bottom of the last climb, so we had caught the guys, and I told to Mikael, I said, alright, now it'd be good if you attack for the breakaway, and then I can just, maybe if I attack from behind, get back onto you. So he went off and he did his work, and then as we were catching back on them, he turned around, let go, and came back in front of me. So he dropped himself from the front of the group and came back at me just to make sure I was in the front of the bunch to prepare my attack. And as we were going by, I could kind of distinguish the end of the climb, was saying, there's no way there's going to be a hard ramp. If I want to go, I have to go now. So I told Mikael to swing over, and here I went, and it worked out to be good timing, and everything was great at that stage.
And fellow Irishman Philip Dignan had attacked, so you got up to him with Chris Froome. So in some ways it was the ideal break. You had Chris Froome, who was going to ride for GC and was coming out of the Vuelta in very good form, and then Philip, who is an honest rider and also wanted to get a result for himself. So I think the makeup of that break was probably perfect to stay away. Oh, definitely.
To win races, you do need that little bit of luck and combination of things, and that really, I think if we had to change or Christopher or Philip, it would not have worked the same. Froome he had everything to win with the GC, and there was no risk of him dropping out of it. It was the last day. The next days were perfectly flat, so there was no risk at all. He could give it all. Philip, which was in the same case as I, had a hard year, and he was looking for a victory, so he was ready to give it all as well. And myself, who just had nothing to lose as well, and I wanted to go for a victory, and I was not interested in being caught anyway. So the three of us just went flat out, and we said, all right, let's have a look at it in the last corner, and that's what happened. But like I said, and like you spotted, I don't think it would have worked the same if it was one of the riders was changed.
You talked about the sense of relief. Presumably this will change your mentality. You believe more in yourself next year, and when you're in a similar situation, I guess you'll know what to do.
Well, I always kind of believed in myself. That was the big problem, and that's why the frustration was there, because I believed in myself, and with all the hard work I do and the training I do, my problem was saying, why can I not win? And not saying, will I ever be able to win? It was like, no, I know I can win, but why am I not winning? And that was what was boiling inside me, I was like, all right, I'm doing this right. I know when there's an uphill finish, I can be there. When there's a time trial, I can save my life. When there's a sprint, I can try and sprint. But why one day when there's an uphill sprint with a little group and this and that, when everything comes together, I'm not there. So that was my little question mark. I was like, why can I not put everything together? So it happened once. It happens to Cavendish every week. So the thing is now is hopefully I can win more of them and not just satisfy myself with this one.
You mentioned that you will return to aggressive attacking riding next year. Does that mean you give up on GC, or will you try and do the two together, find some way to balance it and be able to do both?
No, I will try and balance and do both. Maybe not ride the whole year now with the GC ambitions, and go to some races like this, and where there's Perot or Gadre or whatever, and leave them do their own things and give myself a try for GC. But yes, like I said, for now, for these next few years, I want to concentrate on GC. And but bearing in mind that when I ride aggressively, it can work. And if I analyse my few victories, the only times I've won are times that I've attacked and actually created the move. So it's it's something I could think about and saying, oh, okay, I've won 6 races, but 6 of them, when I attacked, it worked. So maybe I could attack a bit more. So we'll see.
What are your plans for the winter, for the next few months?
So I'm going back to France tomorrow and the next few days. I have my own little cycle race for kids and amateurs inside of France. Then I go back to Italy and stay quiet for a bit. No holidays planned. I like to stay at home and chill out. I'm not a holiday man. When I go on holidays, I don't appreciate it because I think about what I should be doing. So I prefer to stay at home and relax on the sofa rather than relax in an armchair with the sun. And then our first training camp is already on the 15th of November, so that's going to come around very quick. We're 5 days in Montgenèvre besides Sestriere, just for get together. And then after that, from the 6th to the 15th, we're another training camp in Calpe. So I mean, it's already January, then Christmas, January, and here we go.
Do you have idea of your program for next year?
No, I would like to change a few things, so that's why I'm not 100% sure of it. I think now it's over the last few years I've been riding the same races, and I'd like to kind of try something else.
Okay, and goals, I guess the Tour is going to be one. What else will you target?
Well, I'd like to kick off the season on a good note, so hopefully Paris will be one of the early targets, and then obviously the Tour.
Olympic Games, Ireland, I believe that as on the basis of your win in Beijing and Dan Martin's second place in Lombardy, that Ireland should have 4 riders in next year's Olympic Games. So looking at the course, is that something that you think will be good for you?
Why not? When I saw the pictures and the resume of the Olympic course this year when they had that trials, seemed to be a little group. Okay, Cavendish won it, so it was still a sprint, but why not? You know, the Olympics are an important event. They only happen every 4 years, and this year is in London. It's going to be lots of Irish. It's going to be great support, and it's going to be a very exciting race. And I'd really like to give it a shot, honestly. Yeah.
Finally, you've got 4 pros at the top level now. You've got yourself, your first cousin Dan Martin, Philip Daigen, and Matt Bramier. So Irish cycling, it's a very different place than it was, 5 years ago even.
It is. It's great to have the 4 of us now in Pro Tour, and Ireland's 15th nation. Wow, it's great. When I turned pro, I think we were 26th or 27th, and it was hard enough getting one to the Olympics or to the Worlds or whatever race. So it's fantastic, and hopefully this new rod is coming up, and under 23s and junior squads are getting stronger, and they can assure that there could be more Irish pros in the next few years.